Hello and welcome back, artists and designers. We are in part 2 of our Scratchboard video here. We're going to talk about, some scratching technique and how to get this going. So in the last video, we got our brush set up and we got our basic document set up here. We have a color fill layer, black color fill layer, and then we're going to actually be doing the work on the mask. And I didn't call this Scratch last time, but probably call that Scratch, except I spelled it. Did I spell it right? Oh, sure. There you go. And then you've got your reference image on top. So we're going to keep our reference image up top, and it's a smart object, so it really won't let me allow me to draw on this, which is great, so I don't even have to lock it. I'm going to go ahead, and you're probably going to want to drop the opacity on this image. I would say down to at least 20%, maybe a little bit less. Basically, the less you can have this set, the more you're going to be kind of relying on your own skills with the drawing, even though we are tracing at this point. Okay, so I'm going to drop that down, and basically the same is going to go when you do your own original image. You're going to drop that image in there and drop the opacity down as well. So let's dive in here and start talking about a little bit of this. So if I want to erase any of this, this is really easy. Click on this, and remember, I know it's kind of weird to think about, but when we scratch with black on this, it's going to make the white because we're hiding this. So if we switch over to white, which is a quick switch on the keyboard, X will flip between those two colors. We just make our brush a little bit bigger. We can quickly, kind of go through and fix up any of our marks, which I will note, when you were doing traditional Scratchboard, you got to be real careful because really there's no fixing mistakes. Once you scratch it off, it's off for good. So that is definitely a benefit that we have working digitally here. So I'm going to make my brush much smaller again, go down to about 7 or 8, and let's just talk in general about how to scratch. So when we work, you want to work kind of in a single direction when you get started. And why is it not making a mark? Oh, because I'm still on white. So we'll flip back over to black, and you're going to just start kind of scratching gently this way. And remember, zoom in, zoom into this and make sure that we can see close enough. I like to use brush strokes following the form of the area that we're working on. So I would kind of work my way across here, and you want to build up with your values here, because it really doesn't have to do with how hard you press, although if I press harder, I am going to get a slightly thicker mark to make it brighter. You want to work your way across and start to kind of make that something that will build up over time. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out here. It takes time. So if you are a bit impatient, you're just going to have to figure out how to deal with it, because it does take some time to build this up and make it look nice. If you're trying to go in a particular direction, okay, and this is hatching in a single direction, as I have marked there. If you're trying to go in a single direction and you're having trouble kind of going that direction, you can rotate your canvas. So if you hit the R key on your keyboard, check that out. I can rotate my canvas. The space bar will give you the panning tool, and I can put this at a better angle so that I can actually scratch this out a little bit better. So what you're going to want to do every once in a while is, as you start to scratch away, is hide the original image and just check and kind of see what does it actually look like without the guideline of the image there. So that looks pretty good, and it's just going to take me some time to build this up. So this is hatching. Cross-hatching is when you go in multiple directions. So cross-hatching could be something. I'll zoom back in so that we can see a little bit better. So cross-hatching, I would probably work in one direction and then cut back over in the other direction and start to build this up. And again, this is something that's going to take a little bit of time. It doesn't always have to be in an exact back and forth direction. You can layer up in multiple ways for cross-hatching. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to do. Okay. One thing that I want to talk about avoiding doing, outlining things completely. So let's go down to this sphere. One of the things that we like to do when we're drawing is we like to create an outline around things. We like to draw an outline and then shade it in or do something like that. If you outline things in Scratchboard, it's not going to go very well. So I'm going to undo that. You really want to make sure that you do not outline. So you want to, it's like turning a light on very slowly in a dark room, and you're just going to want to have that highlight just start to show up. So try to follow the form, build it up, take your time, and know that it's not going to happen in a matter of minutes. You're going to have to build it up slowly to define the edges of what you're creating without doing a really hard, distinct outline. Okay? So take your time, if I haven't said that yet. That is basically all I want to kind of go over here. Just know that you're going to have to work your way through it, make your brush bigger and smaller, zoom in, zoom out. Sometimes zooming in is good. Sometimes you want to zoom out to get a better picture of what you're doing. Rotate, turn the original layer on and off to check what you're doing, and just know, again, it's going to take you some time to build that up. I think that about covers the basics. Obviously, I've got a long way to go here. I'm going to pull up my sample again here with this one. I'll get in there a little bit closer so you can see some of these things in action. Cross-hatching, following the form, no hard outline on this here. I'm just trying to define the edges with my scratching, and the same thing kind of goes for this eye over here so that you can see some of those different marks and things on there. I'll show you one last thing, which is kind of fun to do at the end. When you have your Scratchboard, because I have this, and I've got a couple extra layers on here for some reason, but I've got my Scratchboard layer right here. What's kind of cool that you can do at the end, you can take a new, like gradient, for example, and let's pick a gradient color here. Let's do something, let's grab blues for a second, something nice and bright. Here we go. Let's do this one. So you take that and put this gradient layer underneath. And check it out. It's going to actually show that gradient underneath of my Scratchboard layer, which is kind of cool. And I could go back and change that at any point. I could pick a different color gradient, and you can have some fun doing some stuff like that at the end. All kinds of things you can do with it. All right, so I think that about covers it. Get in there, drop the opacity on this original image down to about 30%. Work on here with your Scratchboard brush and just kind of follow the form. Don't outline, and take your time. All right, good luck, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.